Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Hope all of you are doing well. So today we are going to discuss the topic major intra and extracellular electrolytes. First of all, let's see what are the contents of today's discussion. A brief introduction about intra and extracellular electrolytes. Then we will discuss the composition of human body. What are the components of human body? And then we will go for total body water and how it is distributed in the body, and what functions water perform in the body, and how important water is for human body. Then comes major compartments of fluids, means the body fluids, where they are in the body. And then we will discuss the electrolytes and their balance in the body. How much important is the balance of these electrolytes and what are the functions of these electrolytes they perform in our body. If this balance is disturbed, then how the body functioning is affected. Then we will discuss these electrolytes one by one in detail. First of all, we will discuss calcium, then we will discuss sodium, then potassium, then chloride, then phosphate, and at the end bicarbonates. And then after all this discussion, I will assign some assignments and all of you have to solve these, and then are a few references. So just let's start with the introduction part. About 56% of adult human body is made up of fluid. Although most of this fluid is inside the cells and is called intracellular fluid, but about 1/3 is in the space outside the cell, and that is called extracellular fluid. So there are two types of fluids depending where it is present. If it is present inside the cell, it is intracellular. If it is present outside the cell, it is extracellular fluid. The extracellular fluid is in constant motion throughout the body. It is not you can say it is not restricted to just one area of the body, but it is in continuous motion. That is why these liquids are of much importance. These can carry one and the other components from one place to the other place. So in the extracellular fluid are the ions and the nutrients needed by the cells for the maintenance of the cellular life. Therefore, all the cell lives in essentially the same environment, the extracellular fluid, for which reason the extracellular fluid is called internal environment of the body. Here is the composition of human body. Here you can see human body is made up of 62% of water, 16% of protein, 16% fats, and minerals are just 6% and only 1% carbohydrates. Among different ions are the calcium, potassium, that is 0.4% only, sulfur 0.2%, sodium 0.2%, chlorine 0.2%, magnesium 0.1%, and other that are required in very minute quantities, they are less than 1%. Then comes phosphorus, that is around 1.2%, calcium 1.5%, nitrogen 3.2%, hydrogen 9.5%, carbon 18%, and oxygen 65%. So this is the whole composition of human body. Total body water and what are the functions of the body. Here you can see water perform many functions in the body. So for example, from saliva, it's a part of saliva needed by the brain to manufacture hormones and neurotransmitters, keep mucosal membrane moist, regulate body temperature by sweating and respiration, allow body cells to grow, reproduce and survive, act as a shock absorber for brain and spinal cord, flush body waste mainly in urine form, convert food to components needed for digestion and survival of human, lubricate joints, what is the major component of most of the body parts, helps deliver oxygen to the entire body. So you see how many functions water perform in our body. So here is you can see the distribution of water in the body. Most of the water is in the form of intracellular fluid. Around 63% of water is the part of intracellular fluid, while extracellular, that includes intestinal fluid, plasma and other fluids. So there are two major water distribution, intracellular and extracellular. Here you see the extracellular fluid, that is around 37%, is mainly in the form of intestinal fluid, plasma, lymph and transcellular fluids. And while the intracellular fluid is, that is around 63%, is inside the cell. Maintenance of composition of these fluids. The body fluids are body solutions that are basically that contains organic as well as inorganic solutes. The concentration balance of the various components is maintained in order for the cell and the tissue to have a consistent environment, which is a requirement for proper functioning of the body organs. In order for the body to maintain this internal homeostasis means maintenance of static or constant condition in the internal environment. There are regulatory mechanisms which control pH, ionic balance, osmotic pressure, etc. in the cell. The volume and composition of the body fluids vary tremendously from one compartment to another and are maintained remarkably constant despite the vicissitude of daily life and the stress imposed by the diseases. So this is, you can say, the responsibility of the body fluids to maintain the constant composition of the fluids, of the constituents. Major compartments for fluids are, number one, as we discussed earlier, number one is intracellular compartment. The intracellular fluid, also known as cytosol, is all fluid contained inside the cell. It is the matrix in which cellular organelles are suspended. The cytosol and organelles together compose cytoplasm. The cell membranes are the outer barrier. In human, the intracellular compartments contain on average about 28 liters of fluid, and under ordinary circumstances remains in osmotic equilibrium. It contains moderate quantities of magnesium and sulfate ions. In the cell nucleus, the fluid component of the nucleoplasm is called the nucleosole. Intracellular fluid decrease in elderly. So with the age, these intracellular fluids decreases. Now comes extracellular compartment. In the intravascular, that is around 5%, intestinal and transcellular compartment, around 15%, comprises the extracellular compartment. Its extracellular fluid contains about 1/3 of the total body water. Now comes what is the composition of these body fluids. All the fluid, either intracellular or it is extracellular, contains electrolytes. The electrolytes concentration varies in these fluids. It is 45 to 50% of body weight in the intracellular fluid. Intestinal fluids make 12 to 15% and the plasma makes 4 to 5% of the body weight. About 40% of intracellular fluid, that is 4 liters around, is dense connective tissue, that is bone and cartilage, and does not take part in quick exchange of electrolytes with the remaining body. The rest of the intestinal fluid, that is 6.6 liters, and plasma, that is 3.5 liters, comprises the active part of the extracellular fluid. These fluid compartments are separated from each other by membranes, which are permeable to water and many organic and inorganic solutes. Membranes are nearly impermeable to macromolecules, just like proteins, and selectively permeable to certain ions like sodium, potassium, magnesium. As a result, each of these fluid compartments has distinct solute pattern, and the solute in each compartment is ionically balanced. For electroneutrality to exist in the extracellular fluid, the sum of the concentration of the cations must be equal to the sum of the concentration of the anions. Now comes extracellular fluids. We will discuss in detail. The extracellular fluid contains large amounts of sodium, chloride, and bicarbonate ion. Plus, there are some nutrients as well present in the cells, such as oxygen, glucose, fatty acids, and amino acids. While intracellular fluids contains large amounts of potassium, magnesium, and phosphate ions. Now, how these electrolytes or the concentration or the amounts of electrolytes are measured. So, the measurement of electrolyte concentration is usually limited to sodium, chlorine, and bicarbonates only. The sum of the concentration of sodium and unmeasured cations, that are calcium, magnesium, and potassium, equals the sum of the concentration of chloride and bicarbonates and unmeasured anions, phosphates, proteins, sulfates, derivatives of organic acids. So it means we can only measure sodium, chloride, and carbonates. The difference between the concentration of unmeasured cations and anions is known as anionic gap. Variation in this gap is a helpful diagnostic indication to disorders of acid-base balance. Difference in concentration of ions on different sides of the cell membrane results from metabolic activity of the cell. Amounts of potassium in the body determines the volume of intracellular fluid as the chief intracellular cation, while the amounts of sodium in the body determines the volume of extracellular fluid as the chief extracellular cation. In electrolyte disturbance, what happens, primary concern is the concentration of various ions and the interrelation of positively and negatively charged ions with one another than the actual number. The electrolyte balance of the body is maintained by a regulation between the intake and the output of the water. So it is the water that plays an important role for the maintenance of the electrolyte balance in the body. Intake of water includes the fluid taken orally and the release of water during the oxidation and other metabolic processes in the body, while elimination of water from the body by urine, expiration through lungs, perspiration, and the feces. Excessive loss of water results in concentration of body fluids, which causes rise in osmotic pressure. As a result, what happens? Water moves out from the intracellular compartment to outer or extracellular compartment to maintain the osmotic pressure in extracellular fluid. This results in dehydration of the cell, and loss of water above 20% may prove to be fatal. So let's start to discuss these electrolytes in detail. And first electrolyte is calcium. About 99% of body calcium is found in bones, and the remaining 1% is present in extracellular fluid compartment. Only 10% of the ingested calcium that we basically you can say we eat or we take with food is absorbed from the intestinal tract, and the remainder is excreted with feces. The concentration of calcium in plasma averages about 9.4 milligrams per deciliter. The calcium level in plasma is regulated within narrow limits by parathyroid hormones. These are the hormones that control the calcium level in the body. The calcium in plasma is present in three forms. About 40% is combined with plasma proteins and is non-diffusible through the capillary membrane, while about 10% is combined with the other substances of plasma and intestinal fluid and is diffusible through the capillary membrane in such a manner that it is not ionized. The remaining 50% calcium present in plasma is diffusible through the capillary membrane and ionized. The plasma and the intestinal fluid have a normal calcium ion concentration of about 1.2 millimole per liter, a level only half of the total plasma calcium concentration. Calcium is very important for blood clotting, contraction of various smooth muscles. In cardiovascular system, calcium is essential for contraction, coupling in cardiac muscle as well as for the conduction of electric impulses in certain region of the heart. Calcium also plays a role in maintaining the integrity of mucosal membrane, cell adhesion, and function of the individual cell membrane as well. Hypercalcemia. What is this? When the level of calcium rises above normal, that is required level of calcium, the nervous system is depressed and the reflux action of central nervous system can become sluggish. It also decreases the QT interval of the heart, which can lead to cardiac arrhythmia. What is QT? It is, you can see, basically interval between two heartbeats. It causes constipation and lack of appetite and depresses contractility of the muscle wall of the gastrointestinal tract. The depressive effect begins to appear when blood calcium level rises above 12 milligrams per deciliter and beyond 17 milligrams per deciliter. Calcium phosphate crystals are likely to precipitate throughout the body. So that is a very dangerous condition. This situation occurs due to hyperparathyroidism, vitamin D deficiency, cystinuria, fatty stools, Cushing syndrome, that is hyperactive adrenal cortex, acute pancreatitis, and acute hypophosphatemia. So these are the reasons of hypercalcemia that can appear in human. Then changes in blood pH can influence the degree of calcium binding to plasma proteins as well. With acidosis, less calcium is bounded to plasma proteins. When calcium ion concentration fall below normal, the excitability of the nerve and muscle cell increases markedly. There are some signs and symptoms when hypercalcemia is the problem with somebody. Mild hypercalcemia may not result in any symptoms, while more serious hypercalcemia can cause different symptoms. For example, excessive thirst and frequent urination. Too much calcium means that the kidney have to work harder. As a result, a person may urinate more often, leading to dehydration and increased thirst. Number 2 is stomach pain and digestive problems. Too much calcium can cause an upset stomach, abdominal pain, nausea, vomiting, and constipation. Bone pain and muscular weakness. Hypercalcemia can cause the bone to release too much calcium, leaving them deficient in calcium. This abnormal bone activity can lead to pain and muscular weakness. Confusion, lethargy, and fatigue is also, you can say, are the signs and symptoms of hypercalcemia. Too much of calcium in the blood can affect the brain, causing these symptoms. Anxiety and depression. These are also symptoms of hypercalcemia that may also affect mental health. High blood pressure and abnormal heart rhythms. High levels of calcium can increase blood pressure and lead to electrical abnormalities that changes the heart's rhythm, adding strain. We can treat hypercalcemia. Calcium deficiency is usually easy to treat. It typically involves adding more calcium to your diet. Do not self-treat by taking a lot of calcium supplements. Taking more than the recommended does without your doctor's approval can lead to serious issues like kidney stones. So just consult your doctor if you feel you are suffering from hypercalcemia, and they can suggest you a specific amount of calcium that you have to take. Commonly recommended calcium supplements include calcium carbonate, which is the least expensive and has the most elemental calcium. Calcium citrate, which is the most easily absorbed. Calcium phosphate, which is also easily absorbed and doesn't cause constipation. Another supplement is calcium phosphate, yes. Calcium supplements are available in liquid, tablet, and as well as chewable forms. People with mild hypercalcemia may not require treatment and level may return to normal over time. The doctor will monitor calcium levels and the health of the kidneys as well. If calcium levels continue to rise or do not improve on their own, further testing will likely be recommended. For people with more severe hypercalcemia, it is important to discover the cause. The doctor may offer treatments to help lower calcium levels and prevent complications. Possible treatments includes intravenous fluids and medications such as calcitonin and bisphosphonates. If overactive parathyroid glands, too much vitamin D or another health condition is causing hypercalcemia, the doctor will also treat these underlying conditions as well. A person with a non-cancerous growth on parathyroid gland may require surgery to remove it. Another important electrolyte is sodium. The sodium and its associated anions, mainly chloride, accounts for more than 90% of solute in extracellular fluid compartment. The concentration of fluid is 142 milliequivalents per liter in extracellular fluid and 10 milliequivalent per liter in extracellular fluid. Plasma sodium is a reasonable indicator of plasma osmolarity under many conditions. When plasma sodium is reduced below normal level, a person is said to have Hyponatremia. When plasma sodium is elevated above normal levels, a person is said to have Hypernatremia. So first we will discuss Hyponatremia. Decreased plasma sodium concentration can result from loss of sodium chloride from the extracellular fluid. Conditions that cause Hyponatremia owing to loss of sodium chloride includes excessive sweating, diarrhea, vomiting, overuse of diuretic that inhibit kidney to conserve sodium. Addison's disease, which results from decreased secretion of hormone aldosterone, can be one of the cause of hypernatremia. There are some symptoms of this deficiency that include nausea and vomiting, headache, confusion, loss of energy, drowsiness and fatigue, restlessness and irritability, muscular weakness, spasms or cramps, coma. Then is hypernatremia. As the name indicates, hyper means excess amount or above some level. So it is the increased levels of plasma sodium levels, which also increase osmolarity and can be due to excessive water loss from extracellular fluid, secretions of sodium retaining hormone, that is aldosterone, excessive treatment with sodium salt. There are some signs that indicate this condition that includes high thirst, flushed skin, dry mucous membrane, low urinary output, and tachycardia. It can be treated. Hypernatremia can occur rapidly within 24 hours or develop more slowly over time. It can take more than 24 to 48 hours. The speed of onset will help your doctor to determine a treatment plan. All treatment is based on correcting the fluid and sodium balance in your body. Rapidly developing hypernatremia will be treated more aggressively than hypernatremia that develops more slowly. For mild cases, you may be able to treat the condition by increasing your fluid intake. For more severe cases, you will likely be connected to an IV drip that's used to intravenously supply fluid to your body. Your doctor will also monitor you to see if your sodium level are improving, and they may adjust your fluid concentration according to the situation. Potassium is also a major intracellular cation present in concentration approximately 23 times higher than the concentration of potassium present in extracellular fluid compartment. Extracellular fluid potassium concentration is normally precisely regulated at 4.2 milliequivalent per liter. This is because many of the cell functions are sensitive to change in the extracellular fluid potassium concentration. Increase in potassium concentration can cause cardiac arrhythmias, and higher concentration can lead to cardiac arrest by fibrillation. About 95% of body potassium is contained in the cell, only 2% is extracellular fluid. Maintenance of potassium balance depends primarily on its excretion by kidney, because only 5 to 10% is excreted in feces. Both elevated and low levels of potassium can be fatal. Hypokalemia occurs due to high intake of potassium or in kidney damage, while hyperkalemia due to vomiting, diarrhea, burns, diabetic coma, overuse of thiazide, diuretics, or the alkalosis. There are some symptoms that show somebody is suffering from hypokalemia. If your problem is temporary, only slight hypokalemic, one might not feel any symptom. Once potassium level falls below a certain level, one might experience some of these symptoms and signs that are weakness, fatigue, muscular cramp or twitching, constipation, and erythemia, that is abnormal heartbeats or rhythms. Hypokalemia can affect kidneys as well. They feel thirsty, muscle problems during exercise. In severe cases, muscle weakness can lead to paralysis and possibly respiratory failure. So you can see these symptoms, they show that it can be really dangerous, but it is treatable. So potassium enters the body through dietary intake. In case of hyperkalemia, potassium-rich foods are recommended to be included in the diet are fresh fruits, bananas, oranges, strawberries, kiwi, etc. Fresh vegetables that include green foods, mushrooms, peas, beets, tomatoes, meat, either beef, fish or turkey, they can help. Juices, orange, prawn, apricot, grapefruit, they're helpful for treating hypokalemia. Then comes hyperkalemia. Technically, hyperkalemia means an abnormal elevated levels of potassium in the blood. The normal potassium level in the blood is 3.5 to 5 milliequivalent per liter. Potassium levels between 5.1 milliequivalent per liter to 6 milliequivalent per liter reflects mild type of hyperkalemia, while the potassium levels of 6.1 milliequivalent per liter to 7 milliequivalent per liter are moderate hyperkalemia, and the levels above 7 milliequivalent per liter are severe hyperkalemia. Hyperkalemia is a common diagnosis. Fortunately, most patients who are diagnosed have mild hyperkalemia, which is usually well tolerated. However, any condition causing even mild hyperkalemia should be treated to prevent progression into more severe conditions. Extremely high levels of potassium in the blood can lead to cardiac arrest and finally to death. When not recognized and not treated properly, severe hyperkalemia results in a high mortality rate. Some signs, if somebody is suffering from this condition, or sometimes patient with this condition report vague symptoms including nausea, fatigue, muscular weakness or tingling sensations. More serious symptoms of hyperkalemia includes slow heartbeat and weak pulses. Severe hyperkalemia can result in fatal cardiac standstill, that is heart stoppage. It can be treated, that include following measures, either singly or in combination, either singly or in combination. A diet low in potassium for mild cases. Discontinue medications that increase blood potassium level. Intravenous administration of glucose and insulin, which promotes movement of potassium from extracellular space back into the cells. And intravenous calcium to temporarily protect the heart and muscles from the effects of hyperkalemia. Sodium bicarbonate administration to counteract acidosis and to promote movement of potassium from the extracellular space back into the cells. Chloride is also a major extracellular anion, is principally responsible for maintaining proper hydration, osmotic pressure, and normal cation-anion balance in vascular and intestinal compartments. The concentration of chloride is around 103 milliequivalent per liter in extracellular fluid and 4 milliequivalent per liter in intracellular fluid. Decreased chloride concentration be resulted can be the result of salt losing nephritis, leading to lack of tubular reabsorption of chlorine, metabolic acidosis such as found in diabetes mellitus, renal failure, and prolonged vomitings. Increased concentration of chlorine may be due to dehydration, decrease in renal blood flow found with congestive heart failure, or excessive chloride uptake. Hyperchloremia. Its symptoms are fluid loss, dehydration, weakness or fatigue, difficulty in breathing, diarrhea or vomiting caused by fluid loss. Hyperchloremia can also frequently accompany hyponatremia, a low amounts of sodium in the blood. It can be treated. Intravenous fluids such as normal saline solution restore electrolytes to normal levels. If hypochloremia is mild, then it is sometimes be corrected by an adjustment of diet. This could be as simple as consuming more sodium chloride, that is the table salt we commonly use in our food preparation. Then come another aniline, that is phosphate aniline. Phosphate is principally anion of intracellular fluid compartment. Inorganic phosphate in the plasma is mainly in two forms, that is HPO4 minus 2 and H2PO4 minus 1. Concentration of HPO4 minus 2 is around 1.05 millimole per liter, and the concentration of H2PO4 minus is around 0.26 millimole per liter. When the total quantity of these phosphate ions in extracellular fluid rises, so does the concentration of each of these ions. When pH of the extracellular fluid becomes more acidic, there is relative increase in concentration of H2PO4 and decrease in concentration of HPO4 and vice versa. Phosphate is essential for proper metabolism of calcium, normal bone and growth development. Both these ions make an important buffer system for the body. Hypophosphatemia. Hyperphosphatemia is an abnormally low levels of phosphate in the blood. Phosphate is an electrolyte that helps your body with energy production and nerve function. Phosphate also helps build strong bone and teeth. You get phosphate from food like milk, egg and meat. Most of the phosphate in your body is housed in your bones. A much smaller amount of this phosphate is found inside your cell. There are two types of hypophosphatemia: acute, which comes on quickly, and chronic, which develop over time. There are some symptoms that show that you are having less levels of phosphates. That includes muscular weakness, fatigue, bone pain, bone fractures, appetite loss, irritability, numbness, confusion, slow growth and shorter than normal height in children, tooth decay or late baby teething. It can be treated means it is treatable. Low levels of phosphate can be treated by adding more phosphate into diet. Milk and other dairy food are good source of phosphate or phosphate supplements. If vitamin D levels are low, it is needed to increase intake of this vitamin because it helps the absorption of phosphates. If hypophosphatemia is severe, there is need to get high dose of phosphate through a vein. People with the family problems will need to take both phosphate and vitamin D supplements to protect their bones. Then there is a condition when you have high levels of phosphate, that is called hyperphosphatemia, that you have high levels of phosphate in blood. Larger than normal amounts, phosphate can cause bone and muscle problems and increase risk of heart attacks and strokes. A high phosphate level is often a sign of kidney damage. It's more common in people with chronic kidney diseases, especially in those with end-stage kidney diseases. Some symptoms of this condition that includes muscular cramp or spasms, numbness and tingling around the mouth, bone and joint pain, weak bones, rashes and itchy skin. It is also treatable. If one's kidney are damaged, high blood phosphate level can be lowered in 3 ways. Reduce the amount of phosphate in your diet, remove extra phosphate with dialysis, lower the amount of phosphate your intestine absorb using medication. First, limit foods that are high in phosphate, such as milk, red meat, packaged meat, frozen meals, snack products, processed cheese, additives and preservatives, breads, etc. It's more important to maintain a diet of healthy foods that balance protein with phosphorus. These includes chicken and other types of poultry, fish, nuts, beans, and eggs. In addition to the diet and dialysis, one probably need medication to help body remove excess phosphate. A few drugs help reduce the amount of phosphate your intestine absorb from food you eat. These include calcium-based phosphate binders and some cellular hydrochloride and cellular carbonates. Another important electrolyte that is an anion is bicarbonate. Bicarbonate is the second most prevalent anion in extracellular fluid compartment. Along with carbonic acid, it acts as body's most important buffer system. Each day, kidney filter about 4,320 milliequivalents of bicarbonate, and under normal conditions, all of this is reabsorbed from the tubule, thereby conserving the primary buffer system of the extracellular fluid. When there is reduction in the extracellular fluid hydrogen ion concentration, that is alkalolysis, the kidneys fail to reabsorb all the filtered bicarbonate, thereby increasing the excretion of bicarbonate. Because bicarbonate ion normally buffer hydrogen in the extracellular fluid, this loss of bicarbonate is as good as adding a hydrogen ion to the extracellular fluid. Therefore, in alkalosis, the removal of bicarbonate ion raises the extracellular fluid hydrogen ion concentration back towards normal. In acidosis, the kidneys do not excrete the bicarbonate in urine but reabsorb all the filtered bicarbonates and produce new bicarbonate which is added back to the extracellular fluid. This reduces the extracellular fluid hydrogen ion concentration back towards normal. So this was all about the body fluids and the electrolytes and their body functions, their deficiency, their treatments, signs and symptoms of electrolytes. Now students are assigned few assignments to do. Number one is just go through this lecture and write down major electrolytes which are required for proper functioning of human body. And then you have to write down importance of electrolytes, how they affect the health, if they are found in excess or if the body is deficient for it. You have to look at each of the electrolyte and you have to write all these details for each of the electrolyte. So have a good day.